Hello students, good morning everyone, and today we are going to start our second lecture in the standard 8 science in chapter number 12, that will be the friction. But before we going to start our lecture, today's lecture, let us take a brief preview on what we have studied so far in this chapter. Okay, so let us take a brief preview. So first of all, the thing we have started in this chapter is that what is a force. A basic idea regarding the force is to push or to pull of an object is known as a force. The first thing we have known in this chapter. Afterwards, we have seen that there is some kinds of opposite quantity which affects our actual force, which is known as a friction force. We have known that. Okay. Then afterwards, we have seen that what is a friction force. So it will be the basically a opposing force of the actual force is known as a friction force. Okay. Afterwards, we have seen that the amount of friction force is if equal to the actual force. Okay, if we are moving an object in a particular direction, okay, whatever the amount of force we are applying, and if the same amount of opposing force will be applicable on that object, okay, then the object will stay at rest in an actual position, or it will stay in a rest position. And this will be the thing we know, that if an friction force is less, okay, if an friction force is less, then the object cannot be moved further. Okay, if an friction force is less, then the object can move easily to the forward direction. Okay, into this direction. Okay, in whatever the direction we are moving the object, it can be actually moving on to that. Okay, so we have know the idea regarding that. Afterwards, we have seen that if an friction force is greater than the actual force, then the object will not move at all. The object will stay at object will go backward into the direction, or it will have to make a more effort to move the object onto the forward direction. We have seen there's some kinds of topic in this chapter. Okay. Afterwards, we have seen the types of friction in this chapter. The types of friction in which we have seen that there is a static friction. Then afterwards, we have seen the sliding friction. Then we have seen the rolling friction in this chapter. So static friction basically gives an idea regarding the rest of the position of an object. If an actual force and a friction force is always equal, then the object will not move at all. It will stay at rest position. It is given basically idea from the static friction, or it will be the linear friction, or okay. Afterwards, we have seen the sliding friction, in which we have seen that due to this friction, the object can be moved further in the directions, okay, in whatever the direction we are applying the force, okay. And then we have seen some rolling frictions, okay. Due to the rolling friction, the balls can be moved around and the braking system will be applicable, okay. And we have seen that the braking system will be much more necessary. So we are going to start our next topic in this chapter. Okay, I have given you the preview and basic summary regarding what we have studied so far in this chapter. Okay. So this is the types of friction we have seen. Okay, the static friction, sliding friction, and rolling friction. Already I have given you the homework regarding that. You have all done that homework. Okay. How friction affects the motion. This will be also the topic that we have already seen. Okay. Now this is the topic that we are discussing today. It is basically a depending of friction. Now I have already told you in the first lecture that friction is the force or the quantity which depending on the other things. If you know that we have seen some kind of thing like this in the fuel, like we have studied about the ideal fuel, that what are the characteristics of ideal fuel in the coal and petroleum chapter. Okay, we have seen that in which we have seen about that there is some particular thing that will denote us that this is the thing. It will give us the specification regarding the ideal fuel. We have seen that this is the specification that will give us the ideal fuel. Okay, if and all the conditions will satisfy, then it will be called and it will be considered in a ideal fuel. Okay, we have seen that. Now, likewise, that we are going to see that what is the factors or what are the things which affects the friction. Okay, there are so many things, but the mainly two things that is affecting the friction is what? Friction depends on both. Okay, now friction is depends on okay. So friction is depend on both the surface in the contact. The first thing is the surface. Okay, I have already told you in the previous lecture that there is a two types of surface: a smooth surface and a rough surface. Okay, I already told you that the smooth surface has a less friction, while it has a more friction. I will change the color so you can visualize it. Okay. And this will be the more friction. When the hockey puck slides on ice, a thin layer of water between the rubber and the ice allows the puck to slide easily. If you are seeing the ice hockey, you will know that this puck will be rotating and the hockey, all the players are making an effort to move this, and if we need to get to this into the goal also. So for that we know that it needs to move on the surface of the ice, and this will be the layer that helps the puck to move. Okay, and it will be the layer it is made up from the water. So as the water and the ice surface come in the friction, it will automatically making and less friction. It will automatically lessen the friction. So due to that, the puck will be automatically slides easily on the ice slides. Okay, so that is why it is very much important that what are the surfaces that we are making. And what is the surface? If the surface is rough, the friction will be more, and if the surface is smooth, then the friction will be less. Another thing, the first thing, like already in the topic they have given us that the both. Okay, the first thing is the surface. What is the another thing? The material on which the object is made up from. Okay. The material. Second thing, first is the surface. Second is material of object. These are the two things that is very much important. The surface, you know that. Okay, now the second thing, the material from the object is made up from. Even material what we are using are different types, or also material and shape of the material. It will also affect the friction. Okay, these are the two things. The material, if we are using a smooth material or if we are using the smooth surface material, we can slide the object and it will lessen the friction. Okay. Another thing is the shape of material. If we are making an object or whatever we are making a material, if it has a round or spherical shape, okay, it will take a less effort to move that object in a further direction. So that is why it is very much important, the shape of the material. If it has a rectangular or if it has a triangular shape, it takes a much more time to move, while the spherical or round shape will make a less effort to move the object further ahead. Okay, so these are the things that affects the or in which the friction is depending on. These are the two things that we have known that on the friction is depend upon. So it will be the today's question in your homework. Okay, that I will give you homework in the last, but you have to just, I am just telling you that it will be the question in the examination that can be asked, that what are the depending factors of the friction, or the second, in the second terms they will ask like that, or which factor is friction is depend upon. Okay, so you can write the surface and the material of an object. Into that you can also clarify, or you can also differentiate another topic regarding the materials, in which you can identify or you can give the specification regarding the shape of the material. So this will be the easy topic. Okay, we are going ahead now. We'll move further in that. Factors affecting friction. Okay, as you can see here, now friction depends on the material's properties such as the roughness, how clean the surface are, and the other factors. Okay, the nature of the surface in the contact and how hard the surface pressed together. Already I have explained you all the topics regarding this. Okay, but I'll give you 30 seconds of time, so you can pause the screen, you can take a screenshot of this, and then afterwards you can write it in your notes, or you can write it in your Fairbook, or you can be written into the rough book also. Okay, I'll give you a 30 seconds of time, so you can take a pause and you will take a screenshot of this. Okay. Now I hope you all have paused the screen and you have taken the screenshot of this. We'll go ahead now. That I will give you a description second time, or I will revise you this. Okay. Once again, the friction is affecting on the two things, and that will be the surface on, and the second is the how hard the surface pressed together. Okay. Now this is the topic that we have to discuss. Okay. How hard the surface pressed together. If you noted that now, okay, let us do an activity. What we have done in the previous lecture. If we'll have to do the two hands like this, and we'll have to move the two hands like this. But what happens if we move the two hands and press two hands together? Okay, now we press two hands together as much as possible, and then you'll have to rub your hands. Okay, what happens? It will automatically gives you it will takes a much more effort than what we have previously done. Okay, if we press the two hands like this, joining these hands together, it will take much more effort to rub with each other. Okay, so for that activity we can understand that if and whatever the things comes in contact with each other, okay, whatever the objects or whatever the materials or whatever the surface, if they will come in the contact with each other and they will pressed with each other very much highly, okay, then the friction will rise up, then the friction will automatically increases. So the how hard the surfaces of the how hard we are pressing the surface with each other, it will automatically affects our friction force. So that is from that activity we can say that friction is also dependent upon the surfaces pressed together. Another thing you already know, but this is the thing I think I have to explain it. So that's why I have given you the explanation regarding that. Okay. Now going to the next slide. Causes of friction. Now, what are the things that causes the friction? Okay, but the first thing, friction is caused due to the, see, Here is an important figure, but I'll have to zoom it down for you. Okay. See, here it is an important figure. The thing here we have to observe is that it is the two surfaces. The object we are moving, the second is the surface on which we are moving the object. Okay, this is the object. And this is the surface on which we are moving the object. Now, what causes the friction? This is our topic. Okay, that causes of friction. Why the friction is happening? What are the reasons? What is the scientific terminology that is given as the causes of friction? That we are going to understand over here. Okay. So first thing is that the interlocking. Okay. Okay. The first thing is the interlocking of the two surfaces with each other will cause the friction. Okay, because the surface or the object has a like this surface over here. Okay. Okay, as you can see it here. Okay, these are the surface. I will another time change the color. Okay, so it is the surface. Look at of the object, not the surface. Okay, but the bottom down surface of the object, it has a surface like this. Okay, into the down. Always, also here, and here. It is the same like this structure. Okay, if you are rubbing, it will be see like the rough surfaces. Okay, that's because this types of thing will be present. We'll have to zoom it out. Okay, they have given us the zoom of this. They have magnified these things over here. Okay, now if this has a rough surface, also we are whatever the surface we have taken onto the which we are moving the object further, this has the same rough surface. Now these two rough surfaces are colliding with each other. Okay, these two rough surfaces are colliding with each other, and due to that they are making some kind of interlocking system. And due to that interlocking system with each other, what automatically happen? It will automatically happen. The friction forces arise, and it will cause the friction. And whatever the interlocking system, if it is at a much higher rate, then what happen? Then the friction force will much more, and will have to make a more effort to move that object. Okay. So this is the thing that we have to understand, that due to the interlocking system of the two surfaces, the friction will automatically begin to start. Okay. So interlocking system, the topic that you have to understand, that is why we have taken time into this. Okay. Another thing. Okay. Friction is caused due to the interlocking of the irregularities. Now these are the surface is irregular. Okay, or it will be we can say that it is a rough surfaces. Interlocking of irregularities between the two surfaces in the contact. Okay, so these are the irregularities we have seen here. Okay, I will show you once again. Okay, these are the irregularities. Okay, because it is not the regular surface. If it is a regular surface, then it was look like this, but it is not. So it is a rough, it is a smooth surface, and this is a rough surface, or we can say that it is a irregularities of the surface, and due to these irregularities of the surface, they are interlocking with each other. Now these are the two types of surfaces. We already know a smooth surface and a rough surface. Smooth surface have a minute irregularities between the two surfaces. Now minute means what? minute means smaller. Okay, it has a smaller irregularities between them. They will be called as and that will be called as a smooth surface. While a rough surface have a larger irregularities between them. Okay, that is why it is called as a rough surface. So force over friction is more if the surfaces are rough. We are already know that. Okay. Now we are going by reducing the force of friction. Now, so far in this chapter, we have know about the friction, types of friction, or the factors on which the friction is depend upon. We have seen that. Now, which types of factor are causing the friction? We have also seen that. Now, what happened when the friction arises, or what happened when the friction is increasing at a higher rate? We have know that the friction will automatically oppose the quantity or opposing the objectification or what we are doing. Okay, so the things that we are going to see about this, I will have to take 1 second of time. So we have seen the factors which are affecting the friction. We have know that the friction will arise, but will have to discuss that what happen if a friction is increasing, or what happen if a friction is rising up. The things that we have to understand is that the friction is the opposing quantity to the actual force. Whenever we are moving an object in the direction, if a friction force arises and if a friction force is equal to the actual force, it will take a more effort. It will have to make a more effort to move that object. Will have to take a more energy. Will have to make will have to lose a lots of amount of energy to move that object ahead. Okay, so first thing, it will take a lots of effort. Second thing, it will automatically produces the heat. Okay, the first activity we have done this, we are doing, and we'll take a 2 hands and we are rubbing with each other. It will automatically create a friction, and due to the friction, it will automatically create a heat. Okay, so from that we can understand that the friction force is automatically create or generate the heat. Okay. So from that we'll have to know about this. The friction has to be lower, or friction has to be decreased. Okay. For that, what we have to do, what we can do to reduce the force of friction, unless a force is constantly applied, friction will slow all the motion, and after some time it will stop eventually. Like if we kick the ball, okay, and due to the friction force applied on that, it will stop at some moment, it will stop at some point. Okay, we know that. Then what we can do, or what we can understand, that we can understand that friction has to be less as possible in the machineries, in the industries. So the friction, if one friction force is less, the production of an heat amount is also less. Okay, and it will take less effort to moving the object. It will take a less effort to rotating the objects or machineries. Okay, so these are the things that will for that we'll have to what we have to do, we have to reduce the friction. So it is impossible to completely get rid of the friction. The first thing we are going to understand that the friction cannot be fully decreased. It cannot be fully compressed down till down the zero. Okay, so it is impossible completely to get rid from that. It is not possible. So we'll just can reduce the friction. Okay, in the natural resources or in the management of natural resources, we have seen the topics like that, the reduce, reuse, and recycling topic. So if we cannot stop the things, okay, or if we cannot stop the pollution, what we have to do, or what we are going to do, that we are going to reduce whatever the things that making the pollution. Like that, what we are going to do, we are going to just understand the concept. If we cannot stop the friction, if it is not possible to fully get rid the long pole in the picture, and the outer part of machine produces a lot of heat. Okay, I already told you that explanation. I have already given you this explanation. Friction can be reduced by placing ball bearings between the shaft and the outer part. Okay, so that is the topic we are going to understand in in today's lecture. So you'll have to write 3 questions in today's homework. I will give you the homework regarding this. Okay, I'm writing the homework here. Okay, I'm writing homework here. Now, question number 1. How to reduce friction? Question number 2. Factors that affect the friction. And question number 3. Types of surfaces. Draw and explain. Okay, so that's it for today's lecture. I hope you will do this homework and I hope you are stay safe, stay at home. Okay, stay healthy as possible. Okay, eat healthy food. Okay, don't eat outside food. Okay, so take care of yourself, and thank you very much for this lecture. If you had any kind of doubt, you can ask me in the comment section. You can ask me personally on my WhatsApp, or you can call me. Okay, till then, bye bye everyone, and take care of yourself.